But our first guest tonight, a billionaire and a TV star. Okay, me too. I have thousands of dollars in the bank. Star of the NBC reality show The Apprentice, Donald Trump is on the program. Should go back and check see if he's still here. He's getting in a gold helicopter right now. We're out of here.
A nice group.
Thank you for being here. Nice having the show. First of all, I think I'm a polite person. So
you're very polite.
And I'm never
Except when I built my building right next to your window.
You did build a building right next to mine, bricking over my window, by the way. That was a lot of fun watching bricks go up over my window. But other than that, you're a sweetheart. But I always call you Mr. Trump. Hello, Mr. Trump. How are you, Mr. Trump? And then, not long ago, I'm watching Regis, and you appear with Regis. You're co-hosting the show with him, and throughout the whole show, he calls you the Trumpster.
That is true.
Trumpster, are you okay with that?
I'm okay with that. If Regis does it, he's my leader. He's my friend. He's a great man.
Trumpster. Trumpster is something that you would paint on a dumpster outside one of your buildings. Just throw it in the trumpster.
But isn't he a great guy? You like him, too.
No, he's a bad guy.
Who doesn't like Regis? Does everybody love Regis?
He's a good man. Boo. Kathy Lee sitting in tonight. She comes to the show. She has nowhere to go. You know, your show has been so successful that now you've licensed out there are different apprentice shows all around the world.
That's right.
That people can watch. And in each one, they say you're fired in their own language.
That's correct.
So in Brazil, I looked it up, it's Voca está demitido. Someone yells that. In Greece, it's, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Ephiges.
I think that's correct. Yes.
Okay. And then, thank you. Which means you have no idea either. As long as they pay, you don't care. And then, but I love Germany. That's the perfect country for a guy to yell, you're fired. It's, Sie haben free! I love that.
That's a natural for Germany.
It's perfect for Germany. Now, what I didn't know is that this move became, you know, hugely famous. You don't just fire people and say, I would have screwed up the whole show. I'd have said, you are fired, you know? But I wouldn't have lasted one night. You did this, and you actually have a name for this.
Well, they call it, meaning the critics, which really loved it. I mean, but they call it the Cobra.
The Cobra.
And it was truly by mistake.
By mistake, right.
Yeah, I was just fed up with one of the contestants, and I was almost falling asleep. I said, you're fired. I tried doing it ever since. I've tried doing it, and it doesn't work.
So you just have to not, it's like martial arts. You can't think about it.
That's right. It's got to be very natural.
It's just a Cobra.
Work. If you think about doing it, it's not going to work.
It's probably a really cool thing to do in a fight, is the Cobra.
That's right between the eyes.
Yeah. Bodyguards almost came out and beat me to death. And now Martha Stewart's, it's been announced, is going to do a version of The Apprentice.
That's right.
Is she going to, have you talked to her? Is she going to use your
fired?
Well,
no, she's not, actually. But she's a great friend of mine, and Mark Burnett and I were thinking about, you know, who, because it's been so successful.
Right.
So we're going to do a second version, very different. It won't be a boardroom, it'll be something else. It won't be you're fired, it'll be something else. And
it'll be you must die now.
It'll be something very good. Actually, you'll really like when you hear this. And I think she's going to be fantastic. She's just been a great friend of mine for so many years, and I think she's going to be really fantastic.
All right. Now, what about this last year, season finale? A lot of people are wondering about this. Season finale of The Apprentice last year was 3 hours long.
Right.
This year it's 1 hour.
Right.
What's happening?
Well, NBC wanted it to be 3 hours, and I just put my foot down. It was too long last year. It was so long. They were doing everything. They were bringing in the OJs. They were bringing in the Contender. They were bringing in they were doing so many different things.
They tried to stretch it out so much.
What people want is they want the boardroom. That's what they want. And
right.
I said, I'm not going to do 3 hours. I'm not going to do 2 hours. We're going to do an unbelievable boardroom. And as you know, we have Tana and we have Kendra, and they're both very tough, very smart. And I think we're going to have one hell of a boardroom. And that's what I want the show to be. I don't want it to be for everything else. So
I think the viewer can tell when you're stretching out when people are trying to stretch out the show too long. They can always tell when I'm doing. When I'm stretching it out too long, and I'm making, going on way too long to kill time.
Well, they do, and honestly, they do know that. They know it, and I didn't like it. It got great ratings. It always seems to get great ratings, but I felt uncomfortable at 3 hours. It was just too long. And we're going to have a 1 hour show. It's going to start at 9 o'clock, and I think it's going to be fantastic. It's what I wanted.
I want to ask you something. This season, I hadn't seen this before, but a guy cried in the boardroom. And I'm curious, in business, does that ever work with you? Is that something... Is that a move that works on you? Is that somehow your Achilles heel if a man starts to cry?
It doesn't happen often, especially in New York business. They don't cry, they shout and they scream.
Right.
But in this case, Chris, who was a pretty tough cookie, I said, Chris, you're fired. And all of a sudden he started to cry. And I was surprised because you all know Chris, I think, and he was really a tough guy.
Did you think when he started to cry, did you almost say, okay, maybe not fired?
I was surprised to see him cry, but actually it was fine, and he came over, I grabbed him, and everyone said, Trump has a heart.
For? That's scary.
Trump has a heart. I know, I mean, it's going to be one of those
It looked to me like
things.
you were trying to wrestle him to the ground.
Well, he was having a really hard time. He really was. And
but in business, let's say a few years ago when you bricked up the window in my apartment, I had come to you and I was like, if I had done that,
I would have taken down the whole building.
Right.
His building, not mine.
Yeah, mine. Yeah.
Is that why you moved from that building? I've always been meaning.
No, of course. I had no windows anymore.
He's not there.
What do you mean, is that why I moved? You took away my windows.
Honestly, because they won't believe this. How far away was my wall from your window?
And this isn't even a joke that I'm doing. My wife and I lived in an apartment, and then we heard that Donald Trump's building an apartment next door, and I thought it's going to be like across the way from us. It came up alongside the side of our building.
3 inches.
I went out one day, because we had like a little terrace. I went out, and I tried to fit my fist between where I live and the new building, and it wouldn't fit.
To show you
and
how crazy.
I think what Donald Trump did is I think what you did was you said, they were like, how close do you want it to be to Conan's building? And I think you said, go measure his fist. Do it now!
Now, we were actually sued on that, saying that we shouldn't have been 3 inches. We should have been 7 or 8 inches. Can you imagine?
My wife
like
sued me for the same thing.
Like it matters. And that wasn't planned, was it? That was not planned.
That was not planned, but if I had had time to plan that, I wouldn't have said it. Trust me. That's not the kind of thing I'd plan. Oh, I'm a bad guy. The season finale of The Apprentice airs live this Thursday night at 9 on NBC, and God knows we need you now on this network. So
it's been a lot of fun. The Apprentice has been really terrific.
We're in 11th place.
NBC is going to be just fine. Jeff Zucker's done an amazing job, and it's going to be just fine.
We'll see. Thanks so much for being here. Always a pleasure having you here. Donald Trump, Patricia Arquette coming up. We'll be right back.